It is Monday, January 4th, 2019. Just wanted to talk about a few things this evening, one of them being the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is now history. From what everybody is saying, it was one of the most boring Super Bowls in history, and it was also one of the lowest rated Super Bowls in history. In fact, it was the lowest rated Super Bowl in the last 10 years. And what's amazing is you have two really big markets, the LA Rams in Southern California, and you had the New England Patriots in Boston. So you had East Coast, West Coast, you had the Patriots, which are a dynasty. And so you had these two big marketplaces and a dynasty, and yet it was the lowest rated Super Bowl in 10 years. So what is that telling us? What it's telling me is that people are sick and tired of the NFL and the players who continue to disrespect the American people, who continue to disrespect the veterans and the police of this great country, who basically are spitting on the flag by taking a knee while so many people gave their lives for that flag, for the freedom it represents, for everything that that flag represents, while these people have the opportunity to make multi-millions of dollars. They take a knee to this great flag, which means so much to you and I. And so it's so enlightening and encouraging to see people waking up and coming out of their comas and taking their time and their money and taking it elsewhere other than the NFL. In fact, the NFL has taken advantage of so many people with the high prices of their tickets, the high price to park your car, the high price for a hot dog, the high price for a beer. These exuberant prices that they charge people while you actually pay for the football stadiums too. They take such advantage of people, and on top of that, they defend their players for taking a knee to the American flag. So my hat is off to the people now who are waking up, turning their backs on the NFL and doing something more productive with their time and money. So people are waking up, and the NFL is going to continue to pay a price for the decision and the choice that they made to go against the American people, to take a knee to the flag. And people now are going to continue to turn their backs on the NFL. It's costing the NFL a lot of money, and people are now speaking up. They're speaking up with their pocketbooks and taking their money elsewhere. So God bless you people who didn't, watch football this year, who didn't spend any money on a jersey or a ticket, and didn't give up your valuable time watching these idiots playing a game while they're disrespecting this country, while you're making them multimillionaires. So kudos to the Americans who no longer are going to tolerate this behavior. I did watch a little bit of the halftime show. And so we had Adam Levine from Maroon 5 up there dancing around. Takes off his shirt, probably weighs 160 pounds, got his little tattoos, has a big California tattoo across his stomach. And that should tell you all you need to know right there. Anybody that tattoos California on their body, that should tell you, that's a warning sign right there. But this guy's dancing around with all his little tattoos, and then some rappers come out, and they had to bleep out about half of that because of the profanity. And so this is America now. This is the halftime show for the Super Bowl, where we have to bleep out, 20, 30, 40 seconds of it because of profanity. We got a guy dancing around like a little girl up there with all his little tattoos. And it's just horrible. Just the quality of entertainment today, the quality of music, it's just horrible. And it just really tells you something about our culture, our society, that Hollywood has lost its golden age. Movies, everything's just so garbage today. And it's just sad to see that this is what we call music. This is what we call entertainment. It's just really, really sad. But anyways, that's about all I saw of the Super Bowl, and that's all I needed to see, because it was pretty disgusting and pretty talentless to say the least. So while everybody is dealing with their hangovers today, missing work, talking about a football game, what was really happening in the world? The Dow Jones was up 175 points today. Amazing. It was down a couple hundred points in the early morning, and it just kept creeping up, and it closed at 175 points up. Now, if somebody will in the comments, please explain to me what pushed the Dow Jones to blow up to 175 points today. What was the news? What was the bad news or the good news that pushed the Dow Jones up to 175 points, being down a couple hundred? So if somebody can please comment below how this is happening. I have no idea, because again, I'm reading more news today, which was very negative, and I'm watching the markets this morning, and nobody was telling me, giving me any good news. I didn't see anything good, and yet this thing came down. It was down a couple hundred points and just worked its way all the way up to 175 points at the close. So what propelled this market to do that? Somebody please explain it to me. When I'm reading this evening that the world's biggest pension in Japan, world's biggest pension, GPIF, fourth quarter, it lost 9.1%. That is $136 billion in the fourth quarter of 2018. So that just got released today. And if you think that isn't going to affect the entire globe, if that isn't a warning sign, I don't know what is. World's biggest pension, GPIF, lost 9.1% in the fourth quarter of 2018. That is $136 billion. Now ask yourself, how safe do you think your pension is? How safe do you think U.S. pensions are here right now, as 78% of them are unfunded? This is just the beginning. Yet Dow Jones up 175 points today on that news right there. I was reading an article today on Zero Hedge, and it was talking about how the banks are seeing sharp declines in home and auto loans. Home equity lines of credit have declined 8%. Growth slowing in credit card, commercial, and industrial loans. Banks are tightening lending restrictions on commercial and residential real estate. So is this a good sign? Are we heading in a positive direction? Yet these markets keep accelerating. But this is what's really happening right now. Yet the markets continue to go up. More news here on Zero Hedge. Car makers start 2019 with abysmal U.S. auto sales. That is Zero Hedge today. And as most of us have been watching, GM, they're going to be letting go of 14,700 workers, 4,250 white-collar workers in the U.S. and Canada, and they started that today. They're laying off Americans right now. That started today, and they're importing foreign workers to work at some of these plants from India, China, Brazil, and South Korea. GM is cutting hundreds of jobs at its information technology centers in Texas, Georgia, Arizona, and Michigan, and they're cutting thousands of jobs at its Warren, Michigan Tech Center. Yet they're bringing in foreign workers. So anybody that buys a General Motors car today, terrible. There's no way you could ever get me to buy a General Motors car today, ever. Another interesting article on Zero Hedge today was regarding the Chinese buying American real estate and how that is at a 6-year low in regards to the Chinese buying American real estate. It is at a 6-year low. In fact, I believe the last quarter, fourth quarter of 2018, the Chinese sold off about $1 billion of U.S. real estate. That's commercial and residential. And since credit is tightening in China, they're seeing investors and developers selling U.S. real estate to raise money. And so they're still buying real estate in the States, but we're seeing them sell more than we've ever seen, and we're seeing them buying less. So buying wise, 6-year low. Selling wise, probably an all-time high with close to $1 billion in the last quarter of 2018. As I usually like to talk about on this show, is I'm an advocate for buying precious metals, gold and silver. And I believe now is one of the most important times to be purchasing it. But another article on Zero Hedge was that central banks bought more gold in 2018 than any year since 1967. So while everybody was telling you not to buy it, while the central banks were telling you not to buy it, it's archaic, it's barbaric, it's just a metal, it's worthless. These banks were backing up the trucks and purchasing precious metals. 2018, the central banks bought more gold and silver than any other time since 1967. So, do you really think you shouldn't be purchasing it? You don't think you should be your own central bank, that you should be protecting yourself with precious metals like gold and silver, the two most undervalued assets in the entire world? Do you think the central banks don't know what is coming? Do you think that they don't know what's going on? Why do you think they're buying precious metals? Why do you think they flood the market with paper to suppress the prices of precious metals so they can come in and gobble it all up at ridiculously cheap prices? The same price that you could be coming in buying it for. So you have to really ask yourself, if we're seeing countries around the world buying precious metals, if we're seeing central banks buying this stuff on steroids, why aren't you buying some precious metals? So we have 3 caravans on the way to the United States of America, and Donald Trump still can't get $5 billion to protect this country. One caravan, they're saying, has up to 12,000 people in it. I don't understand why these Democrats are so adamant about not protecting America, why they're so scared of having a wall protecting America. Really ask yourself, why are they so nervous about this wall? And it's not Donald Trump's wall, it's America's wall. People want the wall. They keep saying, oh, it's Donald Trump's wall. No, it is the people's wall. That is why we elected Donald Trump. That was like the main reason people voted for Donald Trump, was to build that wall and close these borders up. I don't understand, other than these Democrats are pure traitors, sellouts, globalists. Why are they so scared of Donald Trump building a wall and protecting this country? Ask yourself that. It's really mind-blowing. Mexican army captures 7 cartel gunmen with grenades near Arizona. I'm sure most of you know about the fentanyl bust that we had out here about maybe a week ago. And it was caught at one of our ports of entry. And it was enough fentanyl to kill 57 million Americans. Now, I don't understand why, again, people don't see the dangers of what's coming out of Mexico. The threats, the terrorism, the drugs, the cartels. I don't understand what the Democrats and what so many brainwashed people cannot understand. When you have enough fentanyl coming over the border to a port of entry that could kill 57 million Americans. I mean, that is really mind-blowing when you think about it, that, you know, what is coming over that border. Think about what's already come over here that we don't even know about. And these people think we shouldn't have a wall. When we look at Mexico, they're literally turning into a Venezuela right now. Last year, their pipelines, 12,500 illegal holes were cut into their pipelines last year. So now they have to ship gas by truck and train, which is delaying deliveries to their stations. And so it's taking 2 to 3 weeks in some areas to get gas to. And so people, are getting outraged. And so this is what's happening in Mexico, where you have the cartels robbing pipelines. And so yet, you don't think we should have a wall? You don't think we live next to a country that has terrorism, that has cartels, that has criminals, that we should just allow the borders to be open when we have so much going on over in Mexico right now, just a couple hours away? Yet these people think that anybody should just come over to America. It's mind-blowing. So guys, I just want to make a note of one more thing. I read an article today regarding the United States pension assets versus liabilities. we're looking at assets of $3.82 trillion, liabilities of $8.04 trillion. That's a difference of $4.23 trillion, $4.25 trillion. So yet, while the markets go up, while everybody's telling you to buy, we have $22 trillion of debt. We've got a difference, a shortfall of $4.23 trillion, $4.25 trillion shortfall in our pensions. We have the $21 trillion of missing money that nobody knows where it's at, but it's somewhere. We have close to $200 trillion of debt if you take unfunded liabilities like Medicare, Medicaid, and unfunded pensions. Yet, people write me and go, oh, the market's on fire. It's doing great. What are you talking about? Well, it's doing great because the Fed had to come out and stop quantitative tightening. They had to ease off of quantitative tightening. The Fed had to come out and say that they're not going to raise rates. In fact, they may even do rate cuts. The president had to step in and tell people to buy. Steve Mnuchin had to come in, talk to the 6 biggest banks, and be reassured that everybody was liquid and that everything was okay. Banks came out, said everything is okay. So we had to get all this reassurance by Steve Mnuchin, the 6 big banks, the president, and Jerome Powell at the Fed, not doing any more quantitative tightening, not raising rates, maybe even cutting rates. And so basically, the whole thing has been propped up to move forward. So there is no threat. So why shouldn't the markets go up? It doesn't matter what kind of bad news is out there. All the market wants to know is that the rates are not going to be raised. My question is, if things are so great, how come we cannot normalize rates? How come they can no longer do quantitative tightening? These markets are so fragile. We are in such a dangerous time that they are too scared to do anything. And the biggest problem was they brought these rates to zero. They kept them at zero for too long. They didn't raise them in time. They did it all at one time. And now if we do go into a recession, where do you go from here at 2.5%? There is nowhere to go. So we are really in uncharted waters. We're in deep waters. It's a very, very scary time. But as long as people just keep hearing that the markets are moving up, that we're getting closer to 26,000 points, everything's going to be okay. Well, they should move up. It's all manipulation. But in reality, nobody wants to talk about the debt. Nobody wants to talk about the liabilities. Nobody wants to talk about the pensions. Nobody wants to talk about Social Security and the money that was robbed there. This is all going to come to fruition one day. And the scary thing here is the can keeps being kicked down the road and nobody wants to deal with it. The day of reckoning's coming, and when it comes, we're going to have to deal with it. And at that point, it's going to be unmanageable. We are, like, I think at this point, past the point of no return. We are in huge trouble and nobody wants to deal with it. And so all I can say is keep stacking, keep preparing. They always tell you everything is okay, everything is great, and then boom, it happens. I think you do not want to take a chance. Do not be an unprepared individual. This could get it's going to get very, very bad. And we can sit in front of a TV all day and watch these markets and, have these prostitutes tell us that this is the time to buy, that, the outlook is great and, there's nothing to worry about. But, if we really, really peel this apart and look, this is really a scary time. We've never seen debt and liability levels like we're seeing right now. And I think for people out there that, think everything is okay, hey, more power to you. But I certainly don't think things are okay. I'm going to continue to prepare every chance that I get. And I'm out there, I agree with the people out there in the comments. This can't go on forever. It can go on for who knows? Could end next week, could end tomorrow, could end a year from now, 3 years from now. Nobody knows. But this cannot continue. It's impossible. It's mathematically impossible. Something's going to pop somewhere in the world, and it's going to set off a domino effect. And the people who are not prepared for it, the people who are solely invested in paper, they're gonna lose it all. So, guys, just keep preparing. Continue to listening to your instinct, your gut, your heart. Keep preparing. Me personally, I think that every day this gets worse, not better. I don't care what the TV, I don't care what the markets say or the Dow Jones says. The underlying story here is the debt, and it's not going away. It's increasing. So keep preparing. On that note, guys, have a great evening. I will talk to you very, very soon. God bless. Keep praying for this president. Keep praying for this country. Talk to you very, very soon.